This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Greetings from the Philippines to the world. We are on Facebook Live on Eagle News and Net25 TV and also on our streaming site, eaglenewslive.com. Watch us on our YouTube channel at Net25 TV. I am Cesar Vallejos. Welcome to Open for Business. Join me to discover the latest news and information in business around the world. Stay ahead of the curve from vision to action. Many MSMEs were quick enough to adapt strategies needed to keep their businesses afloat during the pandemic and maintain their brand presence despite the COVID-19 crisis. It is also time for MSMEs to prepare for the challenges of 2021. What should MSMEs do to prepare for the coming year? We will hear the ideas and insights of a respected entrepreneur on creativity, innovation, and collaboration in this episode of Open for Business, as well as the outlook for 2021 for MSMEs. Mr. George Noel Winicky III, President of the Association of Filipino Franchisers, Inc., will join us shortly. Keep watching.
StaySafe.ph for citizens. I-download ang app at mag-register gamit ang iyong mobile phone number at OTP. I-report ang iyong health condition gamit ang checklist sa app. Ikaw ay protektado dahil sa advanced contact tracing ng StaySafe gamit ang auto-detection ng Bluetooth at GPS. Manonotify ka rin sa mga lugar na may positive, probable, at suspected COVID-19 cases. Kaya safe ka sa mga pampublikong lugar. Safe ka din sa mga pampublikong sasakyan gaya ng jeep. Ang mga kinauukulan naman ay magagamit ang StaySafe app sa pag-verify ng iyong health condition gamit ang QR code scanning upang mapanatiling safe ang mga establishments. Kapag ikaw ay nasa trabaho, ikaw ay ligtas. Sa LRT o MRT o kahit saang mass transportation ay magagamit ang StaySafe app sa pag-verify ng iyong health condition gamit ang QR code scanning upang mapanatiling ikaw ay protektado. At kahit sa tricycle, safe ka din. Ngayon na tayo ay nasa new normal, kailangan nating masigurong safe tayo at ang ating buong pamilya. Download the app now para safe ka rin at para safe tayong lahat. Be safe with StaySafe.ph.
Open for Business is back, and with me is George Noel Winicky III, the President of the Association of Filipino Franchisers, Incorporated. How are you, George?
Good afternoon to everyone. I'm okay. Thank you for asking. Very hopeful and a little bit upbeat on this coming new year.
Yes, it's good to be upbeat. As a matter of fact, we were just talking off cam. A lot of there's traffic already, and a lot of people are going out from their homes and they go to the different malls already. But of course, some of us still prefer to stay at home because we wanted to stay safe. But talking about consumer confidence, George, you yourself is an entrepreneur and who has decades of experience in setting up, putting up businesses with your brands. How did the pandemic affected your business, and how did you survive? I know, the answer could be very long, but maybe if you can walk us through with your journey during the pandemic.
Of course, it's nice to look back. March 15 or March 16, no? This is unexpected for everybody. We really don't know what hit us during that time. Of course, our business were closed in March, April, and May. There was no cash flow coming into the company. It was really terrible and very challenging. But we had to pivot immediately. I think we had to get out of the freeze mode and really expedite everything and go to the fight mode. What we did is we went digital, we went online, we broke all the barriers. We sold our tempura kits online. It's a frozen shrimp with butter mix and the sauces. So that's what we did. At first, there was apprehension because the apprehension was you're showing your secret, you're showing how you do it. So it might be something, it's not good for the brand. But we really challenged the norms and we succeeded. And after so many weeks, a lot followed. But during the journey of doing online selling, I also saw that a product fatigue might affect our product because everybody went into online selling. As survey says, there are 76 million Filipinos that are online during the pandemic. So kalahati ng population are in the social media. So everybody also went on social media, everybody went online, so competition is very tough. So what I did was to open my stores, pivot the franchising system, and offered a free franchise for everybody outside the mall. And luckily, thanks to God, we were able to open at least 20 stores during the pandemic, but outside the mall.
Wow. George, let me just cut you there. That is something amazing because with all the other businesses and a lot of the MSMEs were not really prepared for this. They didn't know what to do. But I was hearing the keyword from you, which is pivot, and one of the ways where you mentioned how you pivoted was to go digital. In your view, George, are there did you do this because you were already in the digital marketing or digital strategies before the pandemic? Because this may not necessarily be the experience of the other MSMEs. It was only during the pandemic that they realized they had to go digital. In your experience, as you represent, of course, the Filipino franchisers, was it a big edge that if they are already digital ready, and what do you think is that kind of contribution of being digital ready during the pandemic?
Actually, everybody was already introduced to digital space. We all hear this, the digital revolution, etc. But during pre-COVID, we took for granted because we have choices. We have choices. So the COVID forced us to embrace these new norms to go digital. In fact, Cesar, before COVID, the connectivity is just 80% of connectivity is more entertainment. We use it for browsing Facebook, we use it to watch Netflix, we use it to watch YouTube, and then the 20% is used to check your email or to check your website. But during the pandemic, it became a vital tool to us. Okay? Nag-reverse siya, nag-iba siya. It's now the lifeline of the businesses. So it was really forced to us. It was forced. Kasi alam mo, people will always learn if you force them. If you give them choice, they will not learn. They will take for granted.
Yeah, that's right. And you were saying almost half or more than half of the Filipinos were online. And then you mentioned was this also an advantage, that even if people were not going out, even if we were on a lockdown and the market, is there. So with some of the MSMEs who pivoted, nandun pa rin yung merkado nila. Hindi katulad nung iba na dahil they don't have any digital presence, there was no market for them. So what should have been other strategies that MSMEs should have adopted during this time?
Of course, number one, making your brand presence. Yes, our stores are closed, but the most important is making your brand presence to social media, okay, and making your brand relevant to the needs of your customers. So in our case, what happened to us, our tempura kits became a tool of celebration. Because during the pandemic and the hard lockdown, nobody can celebrate birthdays, anniversaries. So and also it became a family bonding session. You see our customers, cooking our tempura at home with the mother, with the dad, with the lola, and I also saw customers who buying our tempura kit, making it as a grand handa or a centerpiece of the family. So we brought in our brand in the houses of our loyal customers, and luckily, it was picked up by some of the influencers and endorsed it for free. So we have celebrities and endorsers who saw the concept of the kit in the house in the social media. So it was really something. Again, you cannot pivot if you don't have the innovation mindset. One must have an innovation mindset. They must challenge the norms. They must challenge. They must flip the rule. They must break the barrier. Kasi kung wala yun wala. Hindi, you cannot pivot.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, George, you also mentioned about this path where you really have to ensure that there is brand awareness and brand presence of your brand in the homes, in the customers' houses and dining tables. Ito ba, do you have to be an expert in thinking of this strategy wherein during the pandemic, you must find a way that your produce, your products will land into the dining tables. So is this some sort of a challenge to do, or Do you have this kind of marketing expertise, to ensure that, because this is also a challenge for the other distributors, hindi ba? And even large companies, how would they ensure that all their products reach into the homes during the pandemic? Ano ang sikreto dito, George?
Well, actually, there's no secret here. Unfortunately, some of my fellow entrepreneurs is not utilizing the most valuable resources which God gave us. This is the human creativity, imagination, and originality. So what happened here is we use our creativity to really solve the problem. And we cultivate brainstorming, idea exchange with my family. My company is a family run. So it was an idea of my son, my third son, and then all of a sudden my wife put in some ideas also, and my ideas, and it became a resolution to the problem that we're facing, which is cash flow. So again, we just have to practice creativity among ourselves and our company. Cultivate. Encourage people to give suggestions. Encourage people to give ideas. Diba? And sometimes let them fail so they'll learn.
Another interesting thing that you mentioned, George, is you said aside from pivoting to online selling and this introduction of this innovation reaching the homes, is the provision you said earlier to provide free franchise as long as they're outside the malls. This is something that's also challenging the norm. Kasi, di ba, sa franchise business, yun ang babayaran nila eh. Yung pangalan mo, yung pangalan ng brand. Pero dito, sinabi mo, is that something, that is hard to do as an entrepreneur, as a franchisor, wherein you have to give it for free, and is this idea supported by the other entrepreneurs? Because there could have been some objections from other members, because to them, di ba, this is the essence of the franchising model. Or meron bang duration lang ba ito? Kumbaga parang, okay, we'll give you the free franchise from this to this date. So was there any objection, or how did you go through this process of innovation?
Again, my close friend calls me a Maverick. I'm a crazy person. I'm really a creative person. I saw the needs. You see, during the lockdown, you can see statistics. Layoff, okay, OFW coming home. And you can probably mix advocacy and business. You just have to control greed. Okay? Yes, of course. I lost money on franchise fee, but I was able to target my goal to maintain my brand presence in the market, and at the same time to maintain the sales of my commissary. That was the goal. So control greed. Yeah, I heard people are saying I'm crazy, but after 2 months they saw my Facebook. It was a successful thing. My former company suddenly copied it already. They're also offering free franchise, and it's okay. I really posted my plans in the Facebook for my fellow entrepreneurs to follow me. We were the first one to also sell our raw material in public. We were the first one to sell our secret. Okay, we were the first one to open our secret, how we do it, how we cook it, the system, etc. Because when you buy the tempura kit, we give you how to cook it. But it works for us, And then, of course, giving franchise, I mean, dalawa tinatamaan mo dyan. Nakakatulong ka na at natutulungan pa yung opisina mo, yung kumpanya mo. But we are, I think, we're a few of a franchise company that opened 21 stores during the pandemic.
My question there is, there are gainers and losers during the pandemic. One of the gainers, of course, syempre, sa food business, lalo na sa inyo. Kasi di ba parang sinasabi nga nila is yung essential tsaka non-essential. Nagkataon na food is really one of the essential requirements during the pandemic. Pero paano naman, George, yung that sector who are considered to be non-essential? I was also hearing a lot of CEOs and entrepreneurs na dahil non-essential sila, they really had to make a big leap or a big shift from from non-essential to essential items. Yun ba? What do you think are the strategies that they can also do or that they should have done? As I go back, in your case, because your product or commodity is essential, what about those who are into the non-essential items? Do you think they could just change their business model, or they will have to create new items to address the new requirements of the market?
Okay, actually, sa food industry also, we were also hit. I have fellow entrepreneurs that was also hit in the food section, no? Tulad ni yung mga cinema snacks. Until now, cinemas are not yet open. Again, my suggestion is to really study the sound bites. What are the sound bites? The needs and the irritants of the market. I mean, the sound bites are there. Consumer behavior has changed. Confidence of consumer or people sa mall bumaba. Those sound bites, meron siyang equivalent resolutions. And this is the time you really have to take. Actually, the pandemic has forced us to use again yung innovation mindset natin, because napaka-relax natin. We were relaxed before COVID. There's a bit of arrogance in our system, because we believe that we are very strong. The foundation of our company is very strong. But the pandemic has forced us to go back to basic, rethink your business, use your imagination, use your creativity. Dati kasi complacent tayo eh. So, relax tayo eh. Look what happened to Atlas Map. 200 years old company, one of the biggest company in the world, okay, was outrun by Google Map. So again, I'm really a promoter and an advocate of innovation, because I think that is what we need to do. The world is craving for new things. The world is willing to pay for new things. And before the pandemic, wala naman nagbago eh. It's still ruthless competition, fast-paced changes. So, itong pandemic lang na to, we were just really forced to think and to innovate. Again, the answers are there, okay? There's a saying, if there is a crisis, there's always an opportunity. There's also a saying, in crisis, creativity must flourish. So there are a lot of creativities, innovation happening. And I think this is also, it's not only the season of crisis, it is also a season of innovation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I have a follow-up question on innovation, but before I ask that, George, we will pause for a break. Open for Business will be back.
Events happen around us all the time. in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Mga mahalagang pangyayari na naganap di lamang sa bansa, kundi maging sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, ating balikan sa Pilipinas 2020. Tinutukan ng Eagle News Team sa iba't ibang sulok ng bansa, pati na sa ibayong dagat. Pilipinas 2020. Hatid sa inyo ng Net25, Radyo Agila, EagleNews.ph at ng Eagle News Live. Pilipinas 2020. Abangan!
Open for Business is back, and still with me is George Noel Winicky III, President of the Association of Filipino Franchisers, Inc. Even the big companies, the department store owners, do you think there is a big shift in that business model, and entrepreneurs like you, franchisors and franchisees, should now rethink the franchising model and ensure that the mall is not the only or not necessarily the place where your produce or commodity should be seen? What's your sense on that, George?
When it comes to franchising, the mall is an alternative location. Okay, it should be it should be not only the mall. You can also consider bus stops, hospitals, community area, junction, busy streets. Nagkaroon lang ng wrong notion. Pag we talk about franchising, automatically we point to the mall. But in the old norms of franchising, it covers different location. Nauso lang sa atin ang mall kasi, kaya that's why yun ang mindset. If I franchise, I put it in a mall. But we neglected also the community area, the streets, etc. In fact, it was on January last year, this was also the plan. I saw it already. I told my family, I told my wife that we're putting our eggs in one basket. I think we should create an experiment putting Tokyo Tempura outside the mall. Let's test if the brand is already strong that can stand alone outside the mall without relying on the foot traffic of the mall. Again, I'm not saying malls are irrelevant. You know, malls are still important, okay? But they're very, very important in building your brand. You know, that's also one. Kaya lang, yun nga lang, what happened was, it changed the landscape.
Mm-hmm. And interestingly enough, you said during the pandemic you launched about 20 or 22 stores. How did
21.
21. How did you do it, George? Was during the pandemic movement was really limited. There were travel restrictions, but if that was the case, in your experience, it is really a showcase of the resilience of the Filipino entrepreneur na sabi nga doon sa ating plug na sa bayanihan, let's just have to fight it, di ba? So, kumbaga, what's your strategy in doing this?
Well, actually, it was merely determination. You are in a crisis, and the natural reaction of a person in a crisis is really to look for a resolution. And that was a resolution for me. But if there is a solution, but your mental state is weak, how can you move? So we have a strong mental state to survive. So what we did was to really talk to people. my people, our people, can we still do this? We have two kinds of free franchise. The first one is the co-branding franchise. Let's say if you're running a Andox or another business outside the mall and you still have space, you can still double your earnings by getting my brand. So nag-co-branding kami. We did a lot of co-brandings. There are milk tea bars that was open during the lockdown in the community, and we asked them, "I'll give you free. Okay, you don't need to pay anything. Just pay for the renovation and a little bit of the equipment. You'll have two brands." That was the strategy. It was an experiment, actually.
And
It
that's
was an
good because that's good because it also is how we do this competition. Diba? Like say the co-branding wherein you really have to share resources for that specific market. But how receptive are entrepreneurs, other entrepreneurs about this kind of strategy? Sabi mo nga, let's forget greediness. Let's forget about the greed because everyone, lahat tayo, we should survive and we should fight the crisis. How receptive was Filipino entrepreneurs about this? Wherein during the pandemic, talagang you have to be generous about your ideas and concepts. And how important is collaboration, cooperation, during these times of the pandemic?
Well, of course, importantly, there are two important factors here. When we were talking to other entrepreneurs, one is I'm hoping that they have a growth mindset. They're open to change, they're willing to try, and they're willing to relearn and learn. Okay, and they're determined also. Okay, if I'm talking to a entrepreneur that has fixed mindset, ay mahirapan tayo nun. Very critical, they'll tell you kagad it's not gonna work. And then they will also, their ideas are always based on fear-based ideas. So hindi mo pa ginagawa, takot ka na kagad. So, well, I have encountered several. One example is, what if your product will outrun my product? Sabi ko, but at the end part, the profit of that product belongs to you. You still have two. So I need to really explain everything to them. Minsan kailangan lang buksan. Minsan fixed mindset.
Okay, yeah. Okay, another thing, George, you mentioned earlier about this innovation. Yun ang hindi dapat mawala sa mga negosyante at lalo na sa mga maliliit na negosyante. My question is, what is your source of innovation? Like you, maybe you have answered this earlier during the interview. You said it has to be the pain points, it has to be the needs. But aside from those, what are the other needs of, what are the other sources of innovation?
Well, of course, you support your imagination by using you support your imagination by environment. You have to be exposed. You have to expose yourself to different things. You have to relearn different things. You have to accept new things from the younger generation. I always say, your past victory may not be applicable to the future. Marami po tayo dyang entrepreneur na they brag about their past victories. But again, can you duplicate your past victories? So that's a challenge now. So the challenge is have an open mind, relearn things, and accept new things.
Wow, that's interesting. You have been in the business for decades, for more than 3 decades. Based on your stellar background. Pero sa palagay mo ba, George, is this the toughest challenge that an entrepreneur like you experienced? Or, you've experienced, harder challenges before? And what are your learnings?
Okay. Actually, this is the toughest. this is the toughest. The Asian crisis, peso devaluation, the dollars during the time when I was in the flavored French fries business. This is the toughest. Okay. Kasi ito zero cash flow. As in zero. Okay. At that time, at least may benta ka pa rin, you know. This is really zero. Well, of course, I was hanging on to the entrepreneurial startup mindset. That is my weapon, which I'd like to share to them. You know, startup mindset is really, it's really something. It's a foundation. It's the foundation of an entrepreneur should be. Dapat hindi na tayo, we remain to have that mindset, startup mindset. Let's remove the arrogant mindset. The startup mindset is, you're still hungry for success. Okay? Still look for success. Even though okay na yung negosyo mo, you still improve, innovate your business. Number two, try to maintain your curiosity. Be always curious. Pag curious ka kasi, you intend to research, you intend to learn, and, you'll gain knowledge. Number three, you stay strong, yung sense of urgency. That is one of the startup mindset. And then, of course, don't be afraid to face changes.
Wow, that's very insightful. Okay, so with the pandemic, a lot of MSMEs also, to some, this was a time, to reflect and go back to their business plans. Kayo, George, with your team and with your family, you were quick, to pivot immediately. But with your advice to MSMEs, what kind of business plan should be prepared for 2021? What's ngayon, parang medyo baka itatapon mo na yung yung dati mong business plan. Hindi ka na pwedeng mag-cut and paste because as you said, the landscape has changed. The consumer behavior has changed. Ang dami ng bago. So, kapag gagawa ng business plan, lalo na sa paghahanda sa 2021, ano yung dapat nakapaloob doon sa business plan, marketing plan, o business model ng isang entrepreneur, George?
It's very tough question to answer because 2021 it's going to be unpredictable in my own opinion. I still cannot see things. I'm not saying wala nang pag-asa, but there are things will be fluid. It really depends on the vaccine. The way I see it. I see the news now and I'm very happy that UK started their vaccinating their people. News about Singapore, and just today, US, they'll start rolling out their vaccine, and it gives confidence to the investors and the consumer. And it really depends on the consumer confidence. So we just have to wait and see, pray a lot, okay, and be wise on this. The way I see it, I can only plan, in my own opinion, I can only plan on a monthly basis. I still cannot plan a long-term plan for 2021.
But so far, what is your outlook? Of course, the way you mentioned it, you have to live month by month. But on your general outlook, and you mentioned about the US opening up for the vaccine, nauna na rin yung ibang, I think, continents. I think Europe has also that one. Do you think that is a good indication that it's going to be somehow positive for 2021, especially with the vaccine that was created?
I'm very hopeful and upbeat, of 2021 because there are indicators already. In April, about 40 to 38% of the businesses were closed. 3 months after, naging 10% na lang. And then on November, 5%, pero malaki pa rin yun. Our GDP, okay, at present is 8.7%. So medyo maganda-ganda rin na konti. No? So yun rin yung nakikita ko ngayon. Those are indicators that is it's going to be a good year. But again, all of us are still waiting for the vaccine.
Related to the vaccine, and I think this is now, there is the government intervention here, but if you have a hand in recommending policies or policy changes, to help Filipino entrepreneurs like you, what should it be? What specific policy or maybe support to MSMEs ang ibibigay ng gobyerno para sa mga MSMEs? And of course, in the handling during the pandemic, do you think there are other better options on how government intervenes or helps or supports the Filipino franchisors? Maliban sa gobyerno, ano rin pa ang naiisip mo na pwedeng maitulong ng mga malalaking negosyante naman para sa mga maliliit na entrepreneurs, George?
Actually, when the government has been helping the micro, small, medium enterprise since the pandemic, again, in my opinion, I have no complaint. They already talked to the big malls to give us free rent or rental discount. We heard the president begging for the big malls to help us. I know the government knows that we are the backbone of the Philippine economy. I think wala na akong mahihingi. They did their part in my case. You have the Department of Labor issuing a memo that if you cannot afford a 13-month pay, there will be no legal action given to you. You are given a more relaxed. Okay, so those are the things that I think the government already gave. Actually, hindi gobyerno eh. Dapat tayo mga entrepreneurs. We have to go back to basic. We have to discipline ourselves. Every time I talk to people, may utang ako, I have to pay this, I have to pay that. It all boils down to financial discipline. Financial discipline. Let's just be frugal. Let's just discipline ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not rich.
Yeah, but George, can you give some tips on how to achieve financial discipline?
Well, number one, cash flow. Don't use your cash flow for other things. You reserve your profit, put it in a bank. If you need to invest in a new project, you only use the profit, not the cash flow. You don't abuse your suppliers. You pay your suppliers on time. So what happened here? When the government decided to close the economy, okay, yung utang mo kaagad sa supplier, because you did not pay them on time, nagballoon. So again, it's really the self-discipline on allotting funds and saving funds. Again, we're not a big company, we're not a Jollibee, but I'm very, very proud to say that the financial fundamental of my company is really strong. We are a disciplined company. We have 13-month pay. Okay, I didn't ask for a loan for 13-month pay. Last January, the 13-month pay for 2020 was already there January. I got the 13-month pay. I got the 13-month pay from the profit of 2019. Again, we go back to what I coined control grid.
Okay. Wow, that's interesting, George. Now, we're running out of time, but my next question would be, what's next for your company? What's next for George, Noel, Winnicky? And what's next for Afi? I'm sure the way you talk about financial discipline, there is already this kind of mindset or action plan that you're going to do in the next year. If you can share your plans with us, George.
Actually, everything will be in a starting line again. We will rebuild again. It was a storm. It's time to rebuild. When you rebuild, it's also time to save. For my company, looking forward of bringing my company internationally. And to my surprise, Asian countries are calling me for a franchise in their country. So that's an opportunity for us. Looking forward for that. For AFI, it was a pleasure serving my association for 2 years. I think it's time for me to step down as my term ends on January 2021. I'm hoping for the best for AFI. Of course, I will still be here as a supporter of AFI, and then I will go back to my foundation, which is Kalye Negosyo. It's an 8-year-old foundation. It offers free entrepreneurship for 6 months, and we've been doing this with my wife. I think this is one of the promise I gave God when I started Talk to Tempura. And it was just a little bit neglected because of my duty to AFI. It was a roller coaster ride, especially the pandemic. It's not easy to be the leader of AFI during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I'm sure your leadership will be remembered by a lot of entrepreneurs during these tough times. Any last words, George, for MSMEs who are listening now? Because, of course, we're talking about bouncing back, rebuilding, and surviving the pandemic. What's your message to the Filipino entrepreneurs who would want to be like you? Imagine opening stores during the pandemic and continuously innovating your product lines to survive.
Actually, there are things that we learned during the pandemic that we should, and I suggest we should carry on when we face the new normal. The first one, I think, is to pray. I'm pretty much sure everybody was praying during the pandemic. And I think we should really do this after the pandemic. Number two, humility. Humility. Prior to COVID, we're all arrogant. We're all competitors. But COVID taught us humility. Nawala yung yabang sa atin. Number three, siguro number three would be probably you have prayers, humility, and then the other one is kindness. Kindness. I think also during the pandemic, we were forced to embrace kindness. We call people, we help people in our own ways. And of course, the last one is faith. We should carry this.
Wow, George, I am speechless. That was really something that's very insightful and that's very inspirational. These are the key words. These are the things that Filipino entrepreneurs will be able to really take up and make them stronger, better, and bolder. And thank you for inspiring our viewers, and of course, thank you for gracing Open for Business. That's the president of AFI, or the Association of Filipino Franchises Incorporated, Mr. George Noel Winnicky, who is also the founder of Kalye Negosyo. Thank you very much, George. Open for Business. We'll be back. Stay with us.
Tapos na po ang taon, pero hindi pa rin kami tapos sa pagbibigay ng maaaksyong dance move dito sa PNG.
At ngayong linggo, mas matinding dance showdown ang inyong matutunghayan because we will bring you the 4th monthly finals.
Yes, dito lang yan sa mas pinatinding biggest talent competition on Philippine TV and online. Tagisan ng Galing Part 2 Dance Edition!
Kumanta, sumaya tayong lahat. Saya-saya.
Open for Business is back, and our term of the week is from Forbes.com. Our term of the week is pivot. Pivot means fundamentally changing the direction of a business when you realize the current products or services aren't meeting the needs of the market. The main goal of a pivot is to help a company improve revenue or survive in the market. But the way you pivot your business can make all the difference. A pivot is not a magic pill that can solve all your business woes. Companies should only consider pivoting when absolutely necessary. It should be the last resort when all other options have been exhausted. And our word of the week is from Jessica Herrin, founder and CEO of Stella and Dot. She said, "You have to see failure as the beginning and the middle, but never entertain it as an end." Thank you for watching Open for Business. Join us again in the next episodes of Open for Business for more insights from CEOs, thought leaders, industry experts, and SMEs promoting business development in the Philippines. See you again every Saturday and Sunday here in Open for Business, where we discuss business information, deliver the latest business news to keep you informed and open for business, and be ahead of the curve from vision to action. You're on Facebook Live on Eagle News and Net25 TV, and you can watch this again in the video section of the Eagle News and Net25 Facebook pages and on eaglenewslive.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Net25 TV. Thank you again for watching for Open for Business. This is Cesar Vallejos. We live in interesting times. Have a great day.